I am blessed. The devil is a liar. My internet chose to go down like, oh.
Wow.
But we are on, thank God. Renelle, can you check for me on Facebook to see if we're on?
Okay, hold on. Yes, we are. It just gave you a notification.
Okie dokie. All right, so we're gonna ask Pastor Anthony to open in prayer, please. We're on now live.
Is she frozen? I think Shirelle's frozen.
Amen, amen.
Okay.
Okay, she got us, yeah.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Hear me? Okay. All right. Most loving and heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we gather here today. We pray for guidance in the matters that we will be discussing today. We pray that all those that need to hear this message, receive this information, show up and receive it. We pray that your word and information fall on good ground and that you come behind us and provide the increase. Show us how to conduct our work with the Spirit and the joy of enthusiasm, ways to excel in your kingdom and glorify your name. We ask this in all things in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Amen. So we just want to welcome, guys. It's Friday, as you know. It's Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring live broadcast that we come to you live each week. And as you know, I'm the host, Cleopatra, and tonight I'm not sure. I should have another host, which is one of the ladies from our group. And I just want to welcome all our special guest speakers tonight, and also to our weekly viewers, our strong supporters, our top fans. Okay, so just know that we always recognize you and your support. So I am just happy that today we are able to bring you another topic. This one is very sensitive. It has to do with child sexual abuse / molestation and domestic violence, and they're all victors tonight. So as you know, we're still celebrating breast cancer awareness and domestic violence, and we hope that everyone is doing okay, and we're asking you to stay tuned with us and feel free to participate. And I'm going to ask our special guests to introduce themselves further to our audience, starting with Pastor Anthony.
Amen. I'm sorry.
Master,
You broke up. Can you say again?
to introduce yourself, please.
Amen. Thank you for yielding the floor. Good evening to everyone. My name is Dr. Shirelle Anthony. I am a pastor and prophetess of Shirelle Anthony Ministries. Born and raised here in St. Louis, Missouri. And I have called and chosen to help women and young ladies who have suffered or experienced sexual abuse or trauma. So I'm very excited to hear you all talk topic on tonight. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Pastor Anthony. And now I'm going over to Dr. Nabavian.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Dr. Guissoo Nabavian. I I am up in New York City. So I'm a clinical psychologist working at a hospital here in New York City where I oversee the inpatient departments and the operations of the inpatient departments. And my private practice is focused on mainly trauma-focused therapy. I have a specialty in sexual abuse and traumas. So I'm really honored to be here and be witness to everyone's stories.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nabavian. And now we're going over to Mrs. Byfield.
Amen. Amen. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. My name is Mrs. Renelle Byfield. I currently live in Florida. I was born and raised in Trinidad. And I, recently moved to Florida. I'm a mom of 3. And so my story is basically, just growing out of the ashes, going, through the pain and the past existence of being a victim of sexual abuse and also domestic violence. My desire also is to reach out to young women or women, basically a lot of women of color also, and women of all races that have experienced or is currently experiencing the same thing that we've all been through. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you and appreciate you all for taking the opportunity and also accepting our invitation to be here tonight to share your stories and for our doctor to talk about the mental aspect of, and the trauma that, each of you went through. I'm sure even though Pastor explained that she already overcame it, but I'm sure, who knows, we may have viewers who are looking on who are also victors who are just afraid to come forward because it's a sensitive topic. All right. So we just appreciate you and thank you all this evening. All right. So I'm going to get into it. So, Renelle, why don't you start by telling us what you went through? What was your experience as it relates to child sexual abuse?
Well, first and foremost, I was raised by an amazing mom, but the thing how this all started was that my mom became very ill before she became pregnant with me and after she became pregnant with me. So it required her to receive medical help, and she had to come to the United States. So at that time, in the United States, they didn't have daycare centers and all that type of stuff. She really didn't have anyone that would have been able here to take care of me. So she trusted one of her best friends, who was also my godmother, to take care of me. And this person that never had any children of her own. It was her sister, her mom, and at that age as a tot, you're unaware of what's going on. I grew up thinking that was my mom. She was, this was in Trinidad. She was half Chinese. And so, I'm calling her mom because I had never physically saw my mother. I never saw my mother. So during my time growing up in Trinidad, as I came into the mental realization as I'm growing up, I started seeing things and I started, hearing things. I found out like later down the line in my life that her sister was a prostitute. But she wasn't like a streetwalker prostitute, not the ones that hang on the corners. She would go to this particular hotel in the city and she would get paid to sleep with men. So, but she wouldn't let us know that. I found out like probably when I was like in my 20s or 30s that people that knew our family really well, that knew my mom, my family really well in New York, one of them knew my aunt really well, told them that he slept with her. And so my godmother at the time had a boyfriend. He was a diver for an oil company in Trinidad. And so he was a big, I remember him. If I kid you not, if I saw him today, I would know who he is. He was tall, really husky, big, really light skin with like curlyish, short curlyish hair. And I remember seeing them have sex. Like I remember seeing my godmother, like I sat, like, cause her room and my room was right next to each other. So it was like a walk-through kind of like unit apartment. So when you come from the back, you have to, there's no door or anything. So you're walking right through. You got to pass their bedroom to go to the bathroom, to the kitchen, to the living room. So when you're walking, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the two of them have sex. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on, but I just saw him on top of her and they were just going at it. And then as I got older, like probably like 5 or 6 years old, that's when the inappropriate touching and stuff started. And it was more than one person. Let me tell you this, in the Caribbean, it is very common for grown men to go after younger girls. In Trinidad and Jamaica, in whatever Caribbean country, you know, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen here in the United States. It does. But in the Caribbean, and I've seen videos of young men going after young girls, in Trinidad, having young girls in the backseat of their cars. You know, people posting these videos of these big grown men that's in their 30s and 40s messing with these young girls. And so it's like, it's a habit for them to do that in the islands. That's what the men there do. The older men go after girls at 14, 15, 16. They're, you know, and these girls in the islands, when you're 16, you're going to college because the level of education is very different. So by the time you're 14, 15, 16, you're going to college. It's not like here when you're 16, you're going to high school, you're going to college. So he started touching me and rubbing himself against me and stuff like that. And then that's when pornography got involved, because he would have these porn magazines and he would tell me, oh, go take this magazine to the neighbor next door. And he's like, don't look at it. And I'm like, I'm innocent. I don't, you know, this is all new to me. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm holding. So I remember taking these magazines and giving it to the neighbor for him to look at, because him and the neighbor was kind of cool. You know, it was the neighbor in the next yard, so to speak. And it just progressed from there. It went on to, by the time I was probably, before I even came to the States, because I came to the States when I was 10. Before I came to the States, I was masturbating, like straight up. I was masturbating. I didn't even know what masturbation was. I didn't even know what I was doing, but it might sound funny, but I would hold my legs together and squeeze my legs until I had an orgasm at the age of 6, 7, 8 years old. And then as I got older, it progressed. It led me to wanting to be sexually active before I was even 13, 14 years old. You know what I mean? Kissing, I'm having boyfriends by the time before I was 14. And, you know, if you were to ask me what age I lost my virginity, I can't tell you. I can't remember with who, how, when, where, what month, what year. I can't remember any of that. And so as I got older, it just opened, the enemy knows how to use that tactic. It just opened the floodgates for sex and lust and all of those other devices to come into my life. So by the time I was 15, 16, I had older boyfriend. One of my boyfriends was in the military. He was a Marine, and he was in his 20s, and we was having sex, and I wasn't even 18. And my mom knew about it, but she didn't say anything. But he was a military. He went to the Persian Gulf. He was in Desert Storm. I was working at McDonald's when I met him, and we were dating and having sex at a young age. I wasn't even 18. So by the time I became 17, going on 18, that's when I got into the adult entertainment industry. I became an exotic dancer at November 28th at that year. I decided to become a stripper because I was like, you know, no one doesn't do anything for me. I need to take care of myself. And I opened, at that time was the Village Voice, and they had all the ads. If you want to have sex, if you want escorts, if you want prostitutes, if you gay, you straight, you tranny, whatever, they had all of that in the Village Voice. And so I found an ad, and an agency was looking for dancers, and I went with my ID and my birth certificate, and it went on from there, and it just progressed. And being in that type of environment, it's like I was going deeper and deeper and deeper, because it got to the point, you know, where girls was getting paid to have sex with men. Men didn't even know, you know, leaving in cars with men and all of that type of stuff. So, you know, it opened my mind, my mental about men changed, because I saw men that were about to get married tomorrow at their bachelor party having sex with a stripper. I'm being, it might be graphic for some people, but I'm telling you what I experienced, and I want people to really understand how this started and what it did to me. It changed my mental about men. It made me money hungry. I was like, I don't want a relationship. Give me your money. If you don't got no money, I can't mess with you. If you can't take me out, if you can't take me shopping, if you can't do this to me, if you can't do that for me, I don't want to be bothered. And then it got me to the point where, you know, I had built the type of man that I wanted. I want all different types of men. I didn't discriminate. And so I became promiscuous. I slept with men that, if you ask me to this day, if I knew their names, I don't. Just from what happened to me in my childhood. And it's not like to say, I have people to say, you know, people did talk to me and say, oh, you know, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But to have someone to like really be stern and really guide me in the right direction, I didn't have that. If something did happen to me sexually and I spoke about it, it was my fault. I got sexually assaulted by 2 brothers when I was in junior high school. And I told my dance teacher, she did nothing. She did nothing. She did absolutely nothing. They grabbed me, dragged me all the way up to this apartment, stripped me completely naked. And I couldn't defend myself, because it was 2 of them. One was older and one was younger, 2 brothers, Rob and David. That was their names, Rob and David. There were 2 brothers, and they stripped me completely naked and did whatever they wanted to do to me. Mind you, I'm like, what, you know, to this day, God has, you know, been bringing back to my remembrance a lot of things that happened to me, and I couldn't understand why. I'm like, I would be up getting ready to go to bed, and he was bringing back stuff. And I'm like, why are you having me remember this? Why are you having me think about this right now? You know, I'm past that. I'm married, you know, happily married, you know, and I love that life that God has given me. But he started bringing back to me my remembrance certain things that happened to me, you know. And then, you know, the domestic violence was even worse. Him and I were dabbling in all kinds of stuff, you know, sharing him with someone else, you know, having another woman with my partner. I'm just sharing, you know, it might be a little bit hard for people to hear and understand where I'm coming from. But the reason why I'm sharing this is just to show you how it started and what it led up to, how it led me to be promiscuous, how it led me to looking for love in all the wrong places from all the wrong people. And then turning that into something monetary where it was more beneficial to me. And then I would have to try to have control of the situation. And when I thought I had control of the situation, I really didn't. I was really hurting myself. I turned to alcohol. I turned to smoking marijuana. I even turned to trying ecstasy one time, and I tripped out for like the whole entire day. I couldn't go home. I had to trip out at my my daughter's father's house for like 2 days. Then he didn't even understand what was happening to me, and I couldn't tell him because I knew he would beat the crap out of me. He would literally embarrass me in public, on the train, in the restaurant, rip my clothes, punch me so hard, and that the inner part of my cheek cut on the inside. I bled so much. And when I started to cry, he was like, shut up, shut the F up, shut up, you know. it was physical torment, it was emotional torment, it was spiritual torment, because it was, it was just opening doors for all different type of stuff, dealing with, even as far as being with other women, it traumatized me so much that I was just like trying to numb myself. I was like, where's all of this coming from? Why is this happening to me? And people's like, well, it's your fault. You chose this life. You decided to get into this. You decided to get into that. You're dabbling with this. You're dabbling with that. And it also led me to be suicidal because I didn't feel like I was good enough. It led me to be suicidal when I lost my first daughter. I lost my first daughter, Erica, at 6 months due to the abuse that I experienced with their father. And I had to bury her. We had to bury her. And I got pregnant with my first daughter right after that. And I felt like, I believe that was God saving my life, because that responsibility right there just shifted. It slowed me down a whole lot. It calmed me down a whole lot. I wasn't doing as much as I was before. It put into that mind frame, like, you have somebody else to be responsible for. It's like supernaturally through God, the motherhood instinct clicked in. I knew I had somebody else to be responsible for. And that's how come a lot of stuff stopped. I was still, doing my exotic dancing and stuff like that, because I had another person to be responsible for, and I wasn't working. So I was still doing that. But a lot of stuff with me had halted, to a certain extent. And so now I'm delivered. I had to go through spiritual deliverance at my first church. When you think that you're okay spiritually and emotionally, you're really not. Like, I went through deliverance. I had to go through prayer. I had to go through fasting. I cried. I felt so broken. I felt so unwanted. I felt so undesired, because people tell me, you were a stripper. You were this, you were that. No man is going to want to marry you. No one is going to want to be with you. You have 3 kids. Nobody's going to want somebody with that that type of history. I was damaged goods to certain people. And so, to God be all the glory. God saved my life. He was like, this is not so. When the enemy was like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill her. There were people that were trying to kill me. They were like, I'm going to kill you. And God was like, that's not going to happen. This is not the time. This is not happening. And so, I give all honor and glory to God and Jesus, because if it wasn't for him, I would be dead right now. Like, I would be dead, probably would have been killed, buried somewhere, and nobody would have never knew where I was buried. Because there was people that was trying to kill me. There were men that was after me, like trying to kill me, stalking me from in the club, trying to kill me. So, this is just brief history of how being molested just led and opened the doors and the floodgates for other things, to get attached to me spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to just try to destroy my life and take me out before I even had a chance, to even live, to be a wife, to be a mother, which I'm grateful for. I'm so grateful to God that he did that.
That's a whole lot, Renelle, that you've been through. I myself is also a child. Well, I was molested as a child. I mean, others may not would have thought about that or think that I would have gone through that myself. So I can understand, what you have gone through, the pain that you feel. And I'm sure, as you said, at some point in time, for some of us, we may still remember it like yesterday, and it may have an effect on us. But glory be to God that we can still call upon Him and still not feel less of ourselves and feeling ashamed or anything like that. We got to bind that up and send it back to the pit of hell because we are innocent. Some of us are innocent. We didn't have the guidance, so to speak. We didn't know God then, or we didn't have the family members behind us to support us financially. Like you said, you had to learn from early how to kind of fend for your own. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, and my mom took care of me,
Right.
but when I hit like 14, 15, I started working on my own, you know, but she provided a roof over my head and, food on the table. She would do stuff for me here and there. But as I transitioned into more of my teenage years, like, I started 16, 17, I was out of control. I ran away because I didn't want to follow her rules. I ended up staying in Covenant House. Everybody know what Covenant House is. Now it's a place for kids that are, transients and stuff like that. It's a lot worse than when I stayed there. And I went to Covenant House more than once because I didn't want to follow her rules. We got to an argument and I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm leaving, ran away. So when I hit 17, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, I was really out of control. And then, the only thing I really got from my mom was, she would talk to me, but as far as like really saying, what are you doing? This is not you. This is not the life it's supposed to be. I didn't get that, So 17, 18, and you're a stripper.
You're not a stripper anymore. You're Mrs. Byfield.
Amen. Amen. I mean, amen. So God,
Amen.
take that back. Take that back. What? Past tense. Okay. Past tense. Past
Exactly.
tense.
I was listening to Jacqueline Carr's song "I'm a Winner" today, and she's saying her past is behind her now.
Mhm.
So thank God you're not that anymore. Now I'm going over to Pastor Anthony. You're now a pastor. You've been ordained a month ago or so. Congratulations on that. And that's the best place that you can be right now.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask you,
Mhm.
please, to share your story with us so we can hear what you went through before becoming a pastor.
Amen. It's very interesting. I just received this revelation 2 days ago. As Renelle was just mentioning, it's amazing how over the back to your remembrance. And I was in the middle of a conversation, helping somebody else with something. And one thing for those of you that study the word, that were established and chosen before the foundation of the earth. So I was born into this world with a target on my back, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know why. In fact, I didn't even believe I was a prophet. But at age 4, that's the first recollection that I have of being touched. And I want parents to really pay attention to this, because when your children reach a certain age, and depending on your community, the neighborhood that you live in, you may feel comfortable with sending your 5-year-old next door, or letting them play in the backyard, or just down the street with friends. Well, this particular day, I specifically remember leaving with a group of children. And as I said, I was 4 years old. We lived in the inner city at the time, in it wasn't so much of a high-rise building, but I think it had 3 or 4 floors. And my father was the manager on the property. So pretty much everyone in the building, they knew who I was. They know whose child I was. So thinking back in the 70s, it was okay to just let your kids go outside. And we went to around the back of the building to an abandoned building, and we were playing in there. And you know what kids like to do in abandoned buildings? They break in the drywall and throwing rocks, through the glass, whatnot. And then it was like all of a sudden, it changed from that to, hey, come here, come here, come here. And this little conversation started taking place. Now, I don't remember what was said, but I do remember being the one that was put up on horse, like a work horse that you would put 2x4s across. So it was almost like a haphazard made type table. I was the one that was forced to lay across the table. And most of these kids were my age. I do recall that one or two may have been a little bit older than us, 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10. They started picking at me. There was the poking. Then they raised my top up. Then they pulled my pants down. To be honest, I really didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what they were doing or why they were doing it. I don't recall having any type of enjoyment out of what was taking place. But when we left and we went back to the house, I remember being in a fog of some sort, like I was confused. Like what just happened? I don't know. The weird thing is when we got back to the house, they told on me. They told on me like I initiated it, like I was the one because I wasn't touching anybody. I was the victim. I was the one, that was being touched and manipulated. And when I said, I immediately, no, I didn't. That's not what happened. And I told my version of the story. I got beat. I got beat. And that's to a lot of children when they try to tell, and not just children, adults as well. People wonder why so many don't speak up. That's why. They're ridiculed. They're abused even further. They're shamed. So guess what happened to me? I suffered in silence. I suffered in silence. I was molested by multiple different family members for 10 years, from like 4 until I was 14 years old. The only reason that it stopped, lust took over. I was a little bit older now. I think I know a little something now. I'm ready to date, and I'm under peer pressure. I'm in high school now. So I'm watching everybody hook up in twos. Everybody's got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And I felt like the outcast, In fact, in my neighborhood, I was often called a goody two-shoe, which I really didn't understand that, because although my parents didn't have a tight rein over me, for my age, I was mature. I was responsible. I wound up having 2 other siblings, but at the time, by 5 years old, I was babysitting my younger sibling. I was being left at home alone. And this wasn't a crime. This was common practice in the area, the arena that I grew up and I lived in. My parents worked at night, so we were home alone. And I was responsible for my younger siblings, making sure the chores got done, making sure, the normal things that a mother or a caretaker of the home would take care of, everything from doing the dishes to preparing dinner, changing diapers, all of that. As time went on, it seemed like more, it sounds bad, but it seems like more people joined in. You know what I'm saying? Then there was a friend of the family. There was a friend of the family who started in with fellatio. I had no idea that what was being done was wrong. Nobody ever sat me down and had a conversation with me about good touch, bad touch. I'll go to my mother's house or either one of them for extended periods of time. When I came home, nobody ever asked me what happened at grandma's house. Did anybody bother you? Did anybody touch you? Are you okay? Did you have fun? Was anybody mean to you? None of those things were asked. And the abuse was running rampant, and that's where it was taking place primarily at grandma's house because no one knew. And then that grew into other children in the family participating and, being what we would say mannish, or in the community, it's called, girls are called being fast because she's trying to get the attention of some boy or some man. Well, this is what 9 times out of 10 she's been trained to do, whether directly or indirectly, because what happens is that child begins to like, appreciate, want, desire that kind of attention. I was being told all the time how pretty I was. You're so smart. You're very loving. You're very kind. And all of this was going on while they're stroking me, you know what I'm saying? Encouraging me to continue with the act. And then it turned into a performance because now I want to please my oppressor. It's like what Tamar went through in the Bible when she was raped by her brother. Then she didn't separate from him. Now she thinks she's in love with him and she's enjoying this abuse, this oppression, all this touching and exploration. By the time I was probably 8 or 9, I started masturbating. All the while that this was going on, I had not been penetrated. That did not happen till, if I remember correctly, I lost my virginity at 12, and it was at knife point. I had a knife put to my throat, and I was told that I had to go through with it. The adults were not home. I was at a friend's house. We had been drinking. We had been smoking weed. I don't know about now, but at that time, it was not difficult to get somebody to go into the liquor store and get you some beer. You know what I'm saying? We weren't doing anything extravagant, but it really didn't matter. And then after that experience, I remember the shame, the humiliation, because my hymen broke. So now I'm bleeding. I don't know what to think, because at the time I didn't know what was going on. And, the friends that were there, they were laughing and high-fiving, each other like, you're part of the club now, you're in with us. And, part of me, because of the peer pressure, is feeling, some sort of pride, but then the natural aspect of it is, oh my God, I'm in pain. What happened? What am I supposed to do now? Because nothing about my first sex experience was pleasurable. So after that, I remember, excuse the term, getting pissy drunk. And because I was in pain, I was in shame, I was ashamed. I wasn't exactly sure for what or why. I just knew that I was, and it didn't feel right. And I wanted that pain to go away. So I drank until I passed out. When I woke up, I had relieved myself in the bed. I was fully clothed. Um, I tried to go downstairs. I fell down a whole flight of steps. Nobody came to help me. Um, I finally got myself together, changed my clothes, and I caught the bus and I went home because, once again, I was responsible. I was an A student. So I was allowed to do and go and come as I pleased because my parents felt and believed that they could trust me. All the while, they had no idea any of this, any of this was going on. And I just want to interject, a lot of people are not aware, but abuse like this is usually generational. Okay. I later found out that my mother experienced it, that I experienced it, then I had my niece experienced it. And it was at that point that I said, you know what, it stops here. But let me back up for a moment. Between 14 and 21 was a very confusing time for me because I never truly understood what love was. I came to associate love with sex. So if I wasn't actively having sex with someone, I did not feel love. Okay. I felt very alone. I struggled with a lot of depression. In fact, I attempted suicide twice. At 15, I became pregnant, and there was no discussion. I was told I would have an abortion, which I did. And that haunted me for a long time. It really did. It haunted me for a long time. By the time I was 17, I was so depressed over a boy. I tried to commit suicide again. And that same boy, because what had happened was on Saturday, most households they sleep in, but when they get up, that's when they do cleaning, household chores, the whole thing. Well, I got up that morning and decided that that was the day that I was going to end it all. I drove to this young man's home, woke him up, gave him a kiss, said goodbye, and I handed him a note and an envelope, and I left. So I stole the car. I stole the car and drove to his house because we had moved. Okay. And I used to live 2 doors down from this young man whom I later married. By the time I made it back home, I had taken the phone off the hook. See, that's how we block calls back then. You take the receiver off the hook so no calls could come through because I didn't want my parents to wake up and realize that I had taken the car. So, not thinking, come back in the house. I had a bottle of sleeping pills. I took the whole bottle. I mean, the whole bottle. I just sat there and I took them and I drank juice, until I got them all down. I put the phone on the receiver. As soon as it touched, the phone started ringing and I jumped. And it was the young man. And he said, "What are you doing?" And he just kind of went off because I laid it all out in the letter. Like, you can't do this. I don't want you harming yourself just because we're breaking up. And da 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 da. So I hung up on him and then I took the phone back off the hook because I didn't want it to continue to ring. Thank God And the mother, he told her what was going on, and they called the police and they called the ambulance. So I woke up to smelling sauce and my chest being rubbed on, and I'm trying to push them off. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and we touched on it a bit, is that when you're exposed to things like this, it it opens up lust, okay? And lust is meant to come and kill the strong man, okay? I am the first grandchild in my family. As I said, I didn't know it then, but I'm a prophet. And the enemy wanted to make sure he took me out. A lot of people wonder, how is it that a man or a woman can be attracted to a child? You need to understand that that is a spirit. Feeling, lust, incest, all those things are spirits. And the things that you expose your children to, I mean, my parents were young when we were coming up. You know, they were in their 20s and they were making really good money. So 22, 24, they have a nice big house. You know, everybody in the neighborhood is far older. Parties, parties, parties. And, you know, the little quarter parties, the little 50-cent parties, and there's tons of drugs running around. We're in the house. We're upstairs. Nobody's watching us. You know what I'm saying? We're running around. Periodically, people are coming upstairs and, you know, walking about the house doing whatever. You know, now that I think about it, God rest his soul, my father had a friend who's been flirting with me since I was a child. Since I was a child, okay? Telling me how pretty I was and how I had nice thick legs and checking out my backside and all of this. And soon as I became a teenager, he was on some, what's up? You know? And once again, my parents never knew. I never said anything to anyone. And it was becoming normal. It was becoming a normal process in my life because just like Sister Renelle, I was 13. I had I wanted to call him my boyfriend, but truth be told, I was sleeping with that was 26 that was in the military. I didn't know it was wrong. I would leave the house and go a few blocks over, and he would pick me up there. And by that time, yes, I was fast. I was rolling up socks and stuffing them in my, you know, trying to look older, leaving home with clothes back in my book bag, you know, school, hanging out with an older crowd. And by the time I was 19, I too was hired as a stripper, but I never showed up for work. I actually chickened out and I did not show up for work. But I was not a stranger to the strip club because at 16, I already had a fake ID. I was already hitting the club on a regular basis. From 16 to 21, it was like 5 nights a week. I had a rotation, you know. I live in Missouri, but Illinois is not far. It's literally 2-3 exits up the highway. You know what I'm saying? From my house. Everybody knows somebody who's got a car that'll come and pick you up. So I would get all dressed up, make my face up, set my body up, and it didn't hurt. Or rather, I should say, it was not a good thing that my body was already maturing. The size I am now, I've been this size, you know, with curves and, you know, all of that. And my first job, I should have filed a lawsuit. My first job at McDonald's, there were multiple male managers there that had relations with me. And yes, I was threatened. You know, my hours would be cut, or, you know, they would expose me, things of this nature. I was very good at my job because by the time I was 17, I was a manager. I was a manager already, you know, running the whole store. So once again, I was very mature, but I wasn't physically hurt. And I believed that no damage was being done to me. It wasn't until I became much older, much wiser, that I came to Christ. And I started studying the scriptures and looking at my family dynamic. I had an aunt, God rest her soul. My grandmother was pimping her at 13. I mean, it was just like, what's that movie? What's Love Got to Do with It, with Ike and Tina Turner? How Ike showed up at the house and gave her mother some money and she sent her on out the house. That's what my grandmother was doing with my aunt. And my aunt was a very beautiful young lady. She was very voluptuous. Um, um, and I actually thought she was older than she was. I didn't find out till down the line, you know what I'm saying, how young she was and at what age she started. But I will admit, I was always curious why she was with that old man, because he was so old. I couldn't, I'm like, she can't possibly like that man, you know what I'm saying, and be attracted to him. And I came up in a family of men. Outside of that aunt, for a long time, I was the only girl, you know, and I grew up with a lot of boys, and there was a lot of rough housing, carousing, and touching. I never said anything. By the time I was 19, I had my first car. Again, I was already in the management field, working at another place at this time, and enjoying freedom. For lack of a better word, I thought I was living my best life. You know, I had a car, I had money, I was able to come and go as I wanted to. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that's when online dating started. I don't remember what it was, but I met this guy online, and I didn't have any wisdom. I went to his house. I went to his house and we were talking. We had a drink and we were smoking marijuana. And it wasn't long at all. I mean, I must have been there probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes. He was already on tilt, meaning under the influence. I was just coming around to, you know, feeling a little tipsy and like, ooh, you know. And he raised me up and he started to walk me to the bedroom. And I was like, whoa, wait, I didn't say, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking to myself, I never agreed to this. It wasn't discussed. And I was forcefully pulled. When we got to the room, let me say this. Going through and experiencing what I had experienced from age 4 up until that point at 19, I had been conditioned not to say no, not to report it, and not to scream. I've been conditioned. At that time, I even believed that it was partially my fault because I was there. Because I was there, because of the revealing clothing that I was wearing. But yeah, that man, he took me in his room and he sodomized me. And I left and basically just sent me on. It sent me on. Literally, he was done, like it was over with. All right, you can go in that room and get a towel and clean yourself up and walk me to the door and kiss me like what, nothing wrong, not like a full-on kiss in the mouth, because I was so numb and so traumatized, because although I was sexually active, I had never, I had never been sodomized. I felt so weird and so dirty. I remember being in a complete daze, walking to my car, and even as I drove off and sat at the stop sign, a police car drove right past me. I didn't do anything. I didn't follow him and, try to get him to pull over or anything. I don't even remember going straight. I was so traumatized. And then I didn't even tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody, not a girlfriend or no one. So by the time I told was when I was pregnant with my first child. I was 21 at this point. I was starting to recognize my power and my strength. I was always a tough girl. I fought a lot, but I didn't know how to fight for this, over this. You know what I'm saying? To get myself from out of it. So again, I'm now pregnant, and I'm trying to explain to the father of my child that I'm pregnant, because we had broken up, and he did not want to receive it. To this day, he still does not claim my son, even though he looks like him. He has claimed, the son to myself, one of his siblings, his mother knows, but at any rate, I'm now beginning to understand that I have power. I have rights. I have the right to say no. Okay, well, that's fine. Nobody took advantage of me again in that fashion, but now I'm open. I'm open. I am sexually open. I am willing to do this, to do that, to date this person. I no longer carry the mindset that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. It's perfectly okay. And again, I didn't grow up in a Christian household. Although I was going to Bible school where we learned about Yahweh, Yahshua, and Elohim. And I'm hearing the scriptures, but I'm not really understanding them. And I certainly, at this point in my life, do not know how to apply them. Okay. It's only as I continue to go on. Now I'm with my high school sweetheart, and this is somebody that I trust. I moved out of state, and I moved to Atlanta. So if you know anything about Atlanta, Atlanta is sexually fluid. And it was like a kid walking into a cookie store. I mean, yes, I had been molested, I had been touched, but it had never been this open. I mean, online dating, sex chats, all this stuff, the internet is in full effect. And all of this is new. It's new to society, because in the past, all this stuff was done behind closed doors somewhere, and nobody really talked about it. But here it was being talked about openly, and all you had to do was pay for it. You know what I'm saying? And you can watch from the privacy of your home. You can talk to as many people as you would like. And we got involved with swingers clubs, you know, having threesomes and group sex. And that went on for less than a year. And then it was kind of like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't do this. I flat out don't want to do it anymore. I said, look, I have a child now. I have responsibilities. I do desire to get married. So now the maturity's starting to feel like an adult, and I want to carry myself like an adult. I'm going back to things that I had learned when I was younger about, you know, not having sex outside of marriage. Now, we're not married yet, but we're living together, and he's taking care of this child that isn't his. He did not father this child, but because of his feelings for me, he chose to raise this child. Well, he didn't want to stop. We had opened Pandora's box. He didn't want to stop. Well, man, you know, you're giving him an opportunity to sleep with other women. He gonna want to cut it off. No. So I got to the point where down the line, I found myself pregnant again. Now I'm pregnant, carrying number 2. And I know for a fact, this is not the life that I'm going to live. And if you're not on board, do you? I'm going home. So I literally packed up my things and moved back to St. Louis. And it was when I got back here that I started seeking the Lord. Now, I find it interesting when I talk to some of my childhood friends that I'm still friends with. They say that I've always been on fire for God. I never saw it that way. But when I got back, it was like, okay, I need to in this and apply this, but I had the desire, but I had the ability. I didn't have the ability. See, now I am promiscuous and I'm open, and I can't see myself moving forward without having a relationship with somebody to have sex with. And I still didn't know what true love was. So after that marriage ended, I found myself right back out into the world, picking up right where I left off. I'm going from relationship to relationship, not asking the right questions, looking for love in all the wrong places, too ready and willing to give all of me to this person that I perceive loves me, you know. And it wasn't until that I truly entered that personal one-on-one relationship with Yah that I began to truly understand who I am and whose I am, okay? And understand that I'm valuable. Not only am I valuable, I'm married to the Most High Yah before I meet any man, you know what I'm saying, and connect with them. So I went on a path of trying to be celibate, and I failed many times. I made it 3 months, then 6 months, then 7 months. And of course, each time you got to start all over again. Okay. And I learned that I wasn't setting boundaries. I didn't know about setting responsible boundaries. So I kept putting myself in situations that was exposing me, that left me exposed, you know, just flowing with whatever is going on. What's the phrase? Netflix and chill, you know. And then you guys are drinking and smoking, and your inhibitions, you know, go right out the window, you know. And I was never per se the initiator, but I was always making myself ready, making sure I had on the right outfit that hugged every little thing just right, and made sure I had bathed and all that stuff, you know. And in most cases, the person that I was hanging out with, we weren't even in a relationship. I had developed the mindset of, we having sex, we go together. You know, and he wasn't there. So I kept finding myself in a relationship all by myself, you know, expecting certain things to happen that never did. So guess what? My heart kept getting broken and over and over again. And I was falling deeper and deeper, you know, into depression. But, you know, some spirits, to be cast out, they're not just going to come out with praying. You've got to fast. And I didn't know anything about fasting and praying. I knew about fasting for health purposes, okay? Because my dad would go on like a juice fast or a vegetable fast and things of that nature to cleanse his body. I didn't know anything about spirits prior to that. And what a lot of people don't understand is spirits jump. You don't necessarily have to be in sin. Let there be an open door or a portal. That's why it's important to pay attention to what you're exposing your children to. Because just like we're seeing today with this sex trafficking, this isn't new. This isn't new. This has been going on since the beginning of time. And you've got to be engaged. You've got to be hands-on with your children. There is so much distraction today. I mean, look, right now, I got my tablet and my cell phone right here. I'm on my laptop. We got a house phone. We be having music playing in the background. We got all these different things going on. Then, you know, we have all these interests outside of the home. I mean, I hate to say it, but the school, all these after school activities. I remember when parents come to school and check on you. Teacher, pop up in the classroom to see what's going on. Your parents knew who friends were and who you were hanging out with, and you couldn't go to that person's house if they did. And I mean, even today, knowing them, they still can do all types of crazy things behind your back. But I'm just saying, you at least need to do that. And none of those things were happening for me. So it left me exposed, wide open. And the truth be told, my mother didn't know. It's not like I had bad parents. My parents loved me dearly. You know what I'm saying? They did everything they could to provide for me and take care of me. But nobody covered her either. You see what I'm saying? And she didn't learn from her experience. All those times that I was out all night, all hours of the night, different states that surround Missouri, running with people, cars with people I didn't even know, skipping school. I was supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be dead. I remember waking up at one house I was at in the projects with this guy I was dating, and he was a big time drug dealer. I didn't know he was addicted to drugs as well. I woke up to him standing over me, cooking heroin in a spoon. I didn't even know what he was doing. Mind you, I'm 21. The only drug I knew about was weed at this time. I mean, I knew other drugs existed, but I hadn't had any experience with them or seen them firsthand, including even though my father was a drug addict. He kept that out of our sight. I was an adult by the time I found out my father was an addict. I mean, because even though I had seen some paraphernalia, I didn't know. I had no clue. And you know, well, if you didn't know, drugs and alcohol is the vehicle that demonic spirit ride upon. Okay? It's not a sin to have a drink, but it is a sin to become intoxicated or to become drunk or buzz. Buzz drinking is still becoming drunk. Well, I was allowed to drink in my house. I was allowed to drink. And by the time my dad found out that I was smoking weed, he started smoking with me. Because his mindset was, I'd rather you be here smoking with me than be out in the street and I don't know what you're doing. But that still wasn't the right mindset because I still was out in the street smoking with this person, I don't know if somebody could have laced my stuff or anything. To God be the glory, that never happened to me. But I've been in several incidents where I've been in a shootout. I've been in an accident. I've been in a situation where somebody was after somebody and I was with them. Yeah, I was not supposed to be here, but I'm a walking, living testimony. I now know that God hand on me from the beginning. Okay, He allowed these things to happen to me. He know what He put in me, and that I would be able to not only come out of it but overcome it.
The message to preach today.
Yes. And go on to help others.
Great. Thank you.
When I left my previous ministry, I hesitated starting this ministry, and then the Holy Spirit started speaking to me. And I remember one day I was watching something on YouTube and I heard a prophet say emphatically, and I truly felt talking to me, that what that thing that God told you to do, and they were doing just like this, they were pointing their finger. I felt like they were talking directly to me. You need to get up and do it. And I had received visions, I had dreams, you know, I'd had people speaking against me. So, you know, I was hesitant. Am I really ready to do this? I didn't think I was qualified, but the Father kept speaking and handing other prophets and apostles that I didn't even know to confirm that not only was I a pastor and a prophet, fivefold ministry. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is heavy. So what do I do with this? You know, and through a turn of events, I was connected with the right people. I got everything started. I'm just now beginning to hire staff. Up until, you know, a couple weeks ago, thing I had been doing was preaching, private consultation sessions with me for help with things that they were struggling in, casting out demons. And honestly, each time that I do it, my mind is blown that the Most High would trust me with these gifts, you know what I'm saying, to be able to help others, you know what I'm saying, get that spirit up off of them. And I now understand why I was attacked so heavily. Even to this day, the spiritual warfare that I endure on a daily basis, you know, people wonder, oh, girl, you're so silly. And it's like, no, if I didn't laugh as much as I did, I'd probably lose my mind or be somewhere crying, scratching, and itching at the things that I witness, at the things that are told to me and shared with me. It's heartbreaking to the average individual who have not had to endure or who have not been in the walk that I have. And it wasn't until I hit 30 that I sought counseling. And by that time, I was actually doing pretty good. But there were some things that had been unlocked in my memory that were brought to the forefront that I needed to talk about because I didn't understand them. And I just wanted to make sure that I was good, that I was ready to move forward. And I can say today that I've done that. I've taken that time to pull away from having relationships, fornicating, and to spend my time now doing works, studying, tending to my family, and helping others, because that's where I receive my joy and my fulfillment, and that's my way of giving back to my community. So, am I hurt or bitter about it? Absolutely not. I'm not, because my experience was different from a lot of others. My experience was traumatic in that it hurt. Okay. Although there were other, side effects and effects that hindered my life, I did not readily see them. So that was my experience, and it was through counseling, a lot of prayer, a lot of fasting. I belong to women's group. I used to have a single celibacy support group where we would meet monthly. And I was amazed to meet women that had been virgins all their life, 12 years, 15 years. And I mean, at that point, I think I was only, a year or two celibate. And my mind was like, I couldn't conceive, and I didn't know how long I would be on that path. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't see myself making it, but it's not as hard as one thinks it is once you get rid of the demonic spirit. That makes any sense.
That's right.
So
yes,
that's
that is right. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, Pastor Anthony. And we have Dr. Nabavian here to speak on, the trauma side, how it affects, and how to deal with it and the things that you can do to even help find it as well. And before I get to you, Dr. Nabavian, Natalie, welcome to the program as one of our ladies from Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring. This evening, she's also going to be a guest on here to share her story as well. Natalie, asking you please to introduce yourself and to share your story as much as you can.
Yeah, good night, everyone. How are you guys doing? Yeah, my name is Natalie. I I have three beautiful kids, miracle babies. I was blessed by the Lord, even when doctors said I could not conceive. Doctors said no, but to God be the glory. My Heavenly Father said yes. I am married for 16 years to Dwight, and my story that I wanted to share so God could get his glory that I've been raped. I think it was at the age of, I think between 8 or 9, and it was my father who raped me. And this go on quite a while until I was 16. That's when it stopped. And I remember the first time it happened to me. Um, my father, I didn't know what my father was planning because I used to sleep in the same bed with my sister. So one night my father told me to get on the bed, on the other bed. So, I didn't think of anything wrong with me going on the other bed, right? So while I went on the bed, I was sleeping, and I remember way in the middle of the night, midnight hours, and I feel something touching me, and I'm saying, what is going on? When I wake up, It was my father who was feeling me up. I guess they call it touchy in Jamaica. And I asked him, I said, Dad, what are you doing? And he said, oh, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you, with that type of tone. And I was scared because my father was abuser. He abused my mother for years, domestic violence in the home. But I was also grown up in a Christian background also. So at the time, I was really scared, as a child, because I was like, if I say anything, he's going to kill me, right? So I remember the first person that I told was my auntie, but God gave me the strength so I could tell somebody my story, what was going on in the home. So my auntie, she came and visit one night, and when she were leaving, I told my auntie that I have something that I want to talk to her about, because she was my favorite auntie where I could open up and talk to her about anything. So the night when I was going with her to the bus stop, I told my auntie what happened, that my dad was, touching me up. And she looked me straight in my eyes and she said, Natalie, I believe you. That's all I wanted. I wanted somebody to believe me. And yeah, right. So I remember I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I don't know, but Daddy's looking at me like, you want to do something. I have on my tights. He's looking underneath me. And I told my mom, she was like, oh no, not doing nothing. And no worry about it. And, bloody, bloody. She was saying all these stuff like, but she knew what was going on. And I really don't remember too much at between that time. But all I remember, another night when it happened, when you really, really sexy me off now. Because remember, he touched me up, and then it happened that, I remember I told you guys that he threatened me. And he took my virginity. Um, I'm a child. What would my father want with a child? I'm a kid waiting for me to go as an adult so the Lord could ordain my marriage, so I could prepare myself as a virgin, a man that's supposed to be my father, a man that's supposed to teach me, a man that's supposed to love me, a man that's supposed to direct me, a man that's supposed to teach me how to wait for God to ordain me for the right man to come. I'm not expecting my dad to look at me sexually. I did not know all this stuff until when I get older in Christ, about all these spirits, the spirit of perversion, the spirit of shame, the spirit of embarrassment, and all those stuff, the spirit of suicidal, the spirit of rejection. All these stuff was creeping inside of me. I feel dirty. I wanted to kill myself. The devil telling me I am nobody. I am dirty. He made me walk with so much guiltiness. He made me walk with my head down. And I'm saying like, whoa, I don't want to live no more. I used to act like a tomboy. But did I went on that side of being a bisexual? No. But the enemy wanted me to turn to that, but I refused. I refused to go that way. When I was rejected, I was hurt. But did I hate my father? No, I did not hate him, because the Lord did not let me hate him. But did I want him to die at the time? Yeah, there were times that I was planning to kill him myself, because I was walking with a suicidal spirit. That spirit that tell me to end my life. That spirit that tell me that no man is going to want me. No man is gonna think that you're worthy. He let me feel like I was unworthy. That's what he made me feel like. He made me feel so dirty and disgusted that when I was in a relationship with other guys, and as soon as they tell me that they love me, I say, "You love me?" I just end the relationship like that, because I feel that nobody loved me, because I'm saying if my father could do that to me, then why would I take that word from another man that said that he loved me? I wouldn't believe that. I would not believe that another man could say that he honestly loved me. But I always believe that Heavenly Father loved me and that He have a great plan for my life, for my life. So what happened now? When I went to my auntie's house, the one that I tell you about, my auntie, she confronted my mother. And when she confronted my mother said I was lying. I'm not a liar. I just tell you how it goes. And my mother left me at my auntie house. She leave me just like that, and she went her way. And then the other day she came back for me because my mother feels shame because I let out the secret what was going on with me in the house. Yeah, because I let out the secret. So she was upset. Was the only person that my father touched? No, I was not the only person. But because it happened to my sister, I can't really share too much stuff because that's her past for her to share. That's her testimony. I can only share what happened to me, but it was a generational curse. It was a generational curse because I remember in 2014 when the Holy Spirit was ministering to me, and he just had me sitting, and he bring me back into remembrance with a lot of stuff because my auntie got raped, my cousin got raped, my other auntie got raped, my mother got raped, my sister got raped, my another cousin got raped, and the Holy Spirit said that's a generational curse. That is a generational curse, and in order to get delivered, that curse got to be broken. That generational curse got to be broken. And because my family did not know about breaking that curse, it passed down from generation and to generation. So the Holy Spirit was ministering to me and said, your mother got raped. And I was like, wow. And then he showed me the pattern that was happening in the family. So when I was having that conversation in 2014 with my brother, the Holy Spirit just confirmed it and said, "Do you know that our mother got raped?" I said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you so much," because God always confirmed His word. I said, "I know she got raped. The Holy Spirit told me that she got raped." But my mother, she blocked it out. She blocked it out, but I confronted her. I said, "Mom, you got raped." And she said, "Yeah." I remember when I used to cry when I did not want to go down to that house, because every time when I go to that house, my father would rape me. He would rape me, rape me, rape me, rape me, rape me. He just constantly just raping me. And I used to beg my mother. I said, "Please do not let me go in that house. Do not let me go in that house." And my mother would curse me out. I'm just gonna talk the things that God want me to tell somebody that need to hear this testimony so they can be healed. My mother said, "Oh, she wants my father to put his stuff in my mouth." I said, "What?" I said, "What?" I am crying, begging her not to send me down the house because every time I go, he would rape me. He would rape me. And I'm telling her, "Do not let me go." So every time I would cry, my cousin that got raped by her cousin, she noticed the sign and she called me one side and she said, "Natalie, I know what's going on with you." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I know your father is raping you." I said, "Oh, do you know that?" She said, "Because her cousin raped her and she recognized the sign." And I said, "Yeah, he's raping me and nobody's helping me." I couldn't trust. I built a wall around me that I would not let nobody close to my heart. The moment you said you want to be my friend, I'm ready to just shut you out because of what happened to me. because I just, like I'm saying, like, oh, my father do that to me, so why should I trust these people for them to be a part of my life? And because it was going on for so many years, so many years, so many years, I run away from home. I pack my bag. I pack my bag and I run away from home. I run to live with my other auntie, my different auntie. I went over there, I stayed there for years, and then one day my father sent for me to come back. I did not want to go back to the house, but I know if I did not go back, he would have killed me. He would have come and chopped me to pieces. So I had to go back. I had to go back. So when I went back home, right? My brother that got killed in 2018 by cops. That's my father's son. One day I was in the house, and my father don't know nothing. He was outside and he came home, and my little brother was crying. And when my little brother was crying, right, my father came in and he was screaming at me. And he said, that I did not like his son. He smacked me in my face. Smacked me in my face. And I said, I did not hit the little boy. I did not do nothing. And I went to my mother to tell her that, that he smacked me in my face. And him start cuss me out, hey girl, you better shut up. And he started telling me some bad words, cursing at me, yelling at me, and going all psycho. And I am telling you, that day when I was in the kitchen, I don't know where I get that strength from, but I tell myself, enough is enough. He will not hurt me. He will not embarrass me. He will not rape me. He will not treat me like that. I will not feel dirty no more. And when he rushed to smack me again, I jump up. I literally jump up in the air and I kick down my father. I gave my father a Jackie Chan kick and a Jet Li kick. And I kicked down my father so hard that he fell in the cabinet and his feet got cut. And from that day, my father did not touch me, because you see that I was saying that if he ever touch me again, I am going to kill you. I am going to kill you. That's how I feel. Like I said, I did not hate him, but at the time I wanted to kill him because I was depressed. I feel I was going through so much. I was going through major depression. I had to go through what you call it, oh my gosh, therapy session. I had to see therapy session like 2 times for the week. Every time I go, she asked me question. I would cry. I would break down till I tell her that, you know what, I'm tired. This is not for me. This is not for me. I would be, in different relationships, sleeping with different guys, not feeling love. I did not want to do it no more. Mommy, the devil tell me to kill myself so many times. So many times I attempt suicidal. I pick up the pill and I'm saying, I'm going to end my life because I don't want to live no more. I do not want to live. But every time I try to kill myself, it's like the Lord is saying, I choose you. I have a great plan for you. You're not going nowhere. And the devil wanted to kill me.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that only in just by me wanted to take a pill or me wanted to drown myself or something. But it was time that an accident, and all sort of stuff that the enemy tried to take me out. And I'm saying, like, why am I not dead? But when I get much older, I get to understand that the Lord has a great plan for my life. And from I'm a little girl, I always love the Lord. I love the Lord so, so much that even when I want to die, the Lord is saying, no, no, no. And it used to give me like dreams. I'm a dreamer and I'm very prophetic. If I tell you something, it's going to happen just like that. And the Lord will show me dreams. And even when I tell my mom, she used to run me and tell me that I dream too much. But that was not my mother. That was the enemy, because I see a lot. And the Lord was speaking to me at such a young age. So what happened? He planted the seed. He wanted to kill me. But purpose don't die. You can't kill me. If God said you can't kill me, you cannot kill me. If you're going to touch me, the Lord give you permission to touch me, but not to kill me. So everything that happened, it happened for a reason. And even when I go to church, people will come to me and said, "Forgive your dad. Forgive him." God wants to use you to minister to a lot of people. A lot of people who get hurt. A lot of people who do not think that they have a purpose in life. A lot of people who attempt suicide. A lot of people who just want to just say enough is enough. They're going to throw in the towel. They want to kill themselves. But the Lord knew the plan that He has for me, and He wanted me to minister to them. But in order for me to minister to them, I had to give my father. And how did I forgive my father? Was to find closure. To find closure. And I remember when I called my dad and I cursed him out. I said to him, I said, "You raped me." I said, "You raped me. Why did you do it?" "Oh, me not rape you and blah de blah de." And I said, "Go on the phone with me." If you're so ashamed because people was passing by, so you couldn't talk to me, or you wanted, I'm sorry, or you wanted to, oh my gosh, or you wanted to talk to me, you know? So when I argued with him and I said, "You know what, you cannot do me nothing. I'm not scared. You can't touch me. God got my back," and all those stuff. And for 2 years, my father didn't hear from me. So one day, my sister, my younger sister, she asked me if my phone could call Jamaica because she wanted to tell my father happy birthday. So when she called him, he told her that he wanted to speak to me because he wants to apologize for what he have done to me. And that is how I get closure. I get closure for my father to say he is sorry for what he did. And for years, all I wanted was for my father to say he is sorry. He is sorry for raping me for so many years. For so many years. You know? And some people might think that, oh my God, her father did that to her, or their father did that to them, or their cousin did that to them, or their brother did that to them, or the neighbors did that to them. And they're thinking like, oh my gosh, nobody will believe them or whatever. Let me tell you something, man. The Lord know that you're not lying. The Lord know that you're telling your story, your testimony, because other people want to know what happened. And other people there are hurting. So, you have parents there that don't believe their child. And I said, if you don't believe them, or you want to believe them, or you want to show if they're telling the truth, I said, put a camera in the room. If you want to know the truth, put a camera in the room, and then you will know if that child is telling the truth. It's not all the time a child is lying. It's not all the time. So parents, be wise. Be wise. When your child come to you and said their father is raping them, a boyfriend is raping them, a uncle is raping them, a cousin is raping them, their next door neighbor is raping them, believe that child. Put up a camera and you would see the truth for yourself. Because these things happen every day. Every day these things happen. And sometimes a child commits suicide and you wondering what happened, why the child commits suicide. The child commits suicide because you did not believe that child. The child is walking with a spirit of rejection because you allow it to happen, because they're telling you all the time, but you're running that child because you do not want to believe, because that's what the enemy is telling you, that child is lying. The child is walking with a spirit of shame because the enemy is saying you're not going to come out and nothing, so might as well end your life. And that's what the enemy was telling me to do. That's what the enemy telling me to do. But God did not give you a spirit of fear. God give you a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. He wants you to be brave. He wants you to be courageous so you can share your testimony. And that is why I'm sharing my testimony. I don't have to hide. I don't have to put on a mask to hide my face. I don't. I don't have to walk with my head down. There were times when I think that I was not pretty. I used to wear wigs, hiding my face. Look at me now. Look at me now. The Lord transformed me. The Lord cleaned me up. He saved me. He sanctified me. He empowered me to speak to people. I don't have to feel rejected no more. I don't have to feel shame no more because God restored my joy. I have a voice to speak. I'm not ashamed to share my testimony. I am strong. I am bold. And I'm sharing my testimony to the world. You see my face. You will remember my face. The devil is a liar. I'm here to set people free from satanic captivity. Because I said, God, use me as a vessel of honor where I can be a voice. Because somebody needs to be free. Somebody needs to hear my testimony. Who the Son set free is free indeed. I, Natalie, sturdy, which I say is free. I am free from guiltiness. I am free from shame. I am free from rape. I am free from suicidal. The devil have nothing on me because I am free. And that is my testimony. That is my testimony. So God can get his glory tonight. Hallelujah. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. That is my testimony. Hallelujah. Praise God. Hallelujah. To God be the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Hallelujah.
Listening to you, Natalie, and Pastor Anthony, stories sound similar to mine. Where when I used to, well, I've never really spoken about my molestation until when I met my son's father, thinking that he was going to be the man in my life. Like, like you all have been going to relationship, not knowing that it was a curse, or anything that probably was in the bloodline or generational curse. However, I never knew what to do when I was experiencing molestation from my own family. I've never spoken it to anybody. I've never really felt suicidal, but my thing was that I always felt dirty. I always felt like, what if I could tell a man the truth, what I've been through as a child? Would they still love me? Would they still want me to be their wife or be their woman at the time? So your stories sound very similar, and I'm sure if whenever I should speak out and say who did it to me, but like I said, I'm gonna put it in my book that's coming out, A Coward Conquers. I know my mother or my family, they're gonna be upset with me or whatever, but I have to tell the truth. I have to tell what I've been through, because remember, when I was growing up, my mom wasn't there. She was out, fending for us, trying to look food for us. So, like Pastor Anthony said, I am the first grandchild. I was the one, like the Cinderella in the home. I was the only girl at one point in time in the home. I was among all boys growing up, and these are my uncles, because we had one home and everybody shacked up in that one home. Everybody, auntie, uncle, everybody, cousin, everybody. So that was how I endured my molestation. And it so happened that the man who I told about it, who I confided in, first time ever spoken out, threw it back in my face this year, 2020. He threw it in my face and tell me how even my grandfather was messing with me. And I said, look, my grandfather is dead. Don't bring up my grandfather, because I don't have any memory of my grandfather fondling me or anything like that. You understand? It had nothing to do with my grandfather. So that was my thing. And to be honest, I never felt any way less than a woman. I guess God was the one who was always strengthening me, because I don't know where my strength comes from, and I'm sure nobody knew that I was molested until now. I mean, I've said it a few times on other programs on Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring, but it is a reality. And we women, we are brave, we're bold, we have nothing to be ashamed of, because if truth be told, and we should do a survey, you would be surprised to know how many girls, how many women today were molested back then as children, because of the way us grew up and are innocent and were innocent. So nobody needs to look at us and be scorning and looking like, oh, Jamaican language would say like we cut our cow tongue. No, a lot of us have been through it, and we are bold enough to come out tonight and to share our stories with the world and letting them know that it's not okay, but now we have overcome the situation thanks be to the Most High, the one who strengthens us. So now I'm not going to take any much more time to say anything. I'm going to go right over to Dr. Nabavian, the psychologist on our program tonight, who's going to speak more about what we're discussing tonight. Dr. Nabavian.
So I want to first say that I'm just blown away by your courage, all of you, to be able to talk about this, and and allow me to be witness to your stories. It's very moving and so powerful. So thank you, all of you ladies. I feel like you guys have done my job for me, so there's not much more I can say. You've really covered what it is like to be abused. I'm just going to say abused because I think you each had a little bit different, and rapes and molestation, the threats, taking things away from you. I mean, just so much to kind of talk about. So I'm just going to say abuse to cover it all. But silencing, right? So you guys have covered all of the symptoms that come along, being silenced, being too afraid to talk about it because the first time you told it, someone didn't believe you. And even though, Natalie, you talked about your auntie believing you, it wasn't enough, right? Because right after that, you were told that you're wrong. Like, be quiet. How dare you? And I talk about this a lot with my patients, that you can't be silenced anymore. And sometimes friends silence you in ways that they don't mean to, by getting uncomfortable or looking away or things like that. And that's how trauma affects us in the present, right? So the past, you've been told to be quiet, and in the present, when you feel silenced, you just want to scream at someone, or you take it to a level that's not average. And that's how I always know someone has been abused, is their reactions in the present don't match what is actually happening right now, because your past is like pulling you right back. That's why you have so many memories. I feel like I'm all over the place because I heard so much of your stories, and usually I only hear one story a night, so I'm just trying to stay together for you all. And if you have questions, please speak to me, and again, it'll help me get more directed. But the way to deal with trauma is to talk about trauma and keep talking about trauma, because your stories can't be silenced anymore. And that, I think you've all mentioned how your healing involved talking and involved telling and being listened to and being, being given a voice. I think spirituality and God is so important in healing. And, and for many people, it is what is healing. And for many people, it may not be. But I think there's a lot of spirituality out there that can help you move forward and help you kind of heal in many ways. I'm just thinking about all the things you guys all said. So silence is, I think, really the most important aspect. The next thing that you all kind of pointed out was how your bodies betrayed you in some way. I think I hear a lot of rape victims talking about, I hated it, I was scared, but I was wet and my body reacted. And what does that mean? And does it mean I liked it? Does it mean I enjoyed it? And discussing how, your body doesn't know the difference, doesn't know what's going on in your brain. And, that can turn to many other things, right? So, well, this all has happened to my body, so who cares what I do with my body? Who cares that I'm a stripper? Who cares that do this or I do that. Who cares if I'm promiscuous? And that's something I hear over and over and over again. I really think that's related to the way, in some way, you become disconnected to your body, and regaining trust in your body and understanding your body and understanding how, I think, Natalie, you put it so beautifully, how beautiful you are, that you don't need to hide. I hear a lot of trauma victims talk about wearing those big sweaters because they want to hide. And it's the two polar opposites, right? So either you wear nothing because who cares, everyone's seen it, or you're hiding it. And finding that balance and coming in between everything. That's where a lot of healing works, is right there in the middle. Everyone knows the other symptoms, right? The depression, the anxiety. But I think the ones that people don't talk about are the things that you guys just brought up. Not being able to talk about it, not being trusted, not trusting everyone around you. I forgot who said it, but like not having friends, because every time you thought, every time someone comes into your life, well, everyone else has hurt me, so why would you not hurt me? Why would you be the one to do different? Because the people who meant the most, the people who like are supposed to take care of you, your parents, weren't able to. I think for the pastor, you said that your parents didn't know. And I know that's true, but in some ways they still didn't take care of you. And it's a weird thing to say, because they provided a roof, but you weren't safe. So lack of safety makes you feel not trusting in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard. So I think learning to trust again, learning to look at the world and understand like what part of the world is safe and what is not safe. Because unfortunately, even in 2020, we have to be careful, right?
Mm.
Like you can't just be like, no, your abuse is over. Don't worry. Go out into the world. No one's going to hurt you, because that's not accurate. But it's trust your instincts, check out the situation. Is it a real threat? If it's a real threat, then do what you need to do and run. If it's not a real threat, then take a deep breath and then approach it in reality, right? Like in the basis that you're in. So I think therapy, of course, I'm going to say this because I think therapy is really helpful, but Cleopatra and I talked about this before. It's not therapy with just anyone, right? It's finding the right therapist, the therapist that you can connect to, that can give you what you need, not just the space to cry and talk about it, but also help you grow and move past it so that you can live full lives. So.
Thank you so much,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Nabavian. Now,
I have a question. I'm sorry. I have a question. What I want to understand is why is it that, okay, we all, had a situation with me. I didn't tell my mom what happened to me until years later. And even though nothing could be done about it in some sense, because I was already here and he was still in Trinidad. So the thing is, how is it that there's some parents that they're like, I wouldn't say ice cold, but it wasn't like a reaction, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she has 2 kids, my oldest brother, and I'm her only daughter. How is it that you didn't have a reaction to what I told you? Like, this big grown man, you know what I mean? Eventually, I'm sorry, but God handled him because he ended up getting killed. Somebody ended up stabbing him to death and he ended up losing his life. So I was like, I wouldn't say it's karma, but but the thing is about it is when I finally told her what happened to me, it was like no reaction. It wasn't like, oh my God, my poor baby, my daughter, my child, how did somebody that I trust, and I don't even think my godmother knew what he was doing to me, because There would be times they wouldn't be around, and he would be there, and that's when all of this stuff happened. But when she's there, when my godmother will be around, everything will be back to normal. So when I told my mother what happened to me, it was no reaction. It wasn't no like, like if that was my kid, I'm like, oh my God, I will be in tears. I will be angry. I will be pissed off. I'll be trying to find a mallet to chop, and a knife to chop his nuts off. Excuse my French, but I'm serious. That's the type of parent I am. You mess with my kids, I'm going to take your whole male anatomy off. But it was no reaction from her. It was just like she got on the phone and she called my father to tell him what happened. And I was just like looking at her like, did you just like no reaction, no nothing? Like it was, I've never understood that. So I want you to tell me, how is it that some parents, when you know that your only daughter that God has entrusted to you has been raped more than once, probably been raped from the time they were 5 years old, or sometimes as young as 3, if you want to get real about it, there's babies being molested at 3. How is it that some parents don't have a reaction to that? Like,
Yeah.
it
So
baffles me.
I think it could be one of many reasons. One could just be shock, fear, not knowing how to answer, not knowing what to say, thinking that if they, did what you think would be normal, that you would get upset. It could be that your mom was also molested. So it's like, oh, okay, this happened. I know this. Right?
Right.
And she may not want to tell you that, right? So it's that reaction of like, oh yeah, okay, let me call and let's move on to what we need to do. It's not going to be my reaction, right? But I think you could always ask, but my guess is one of those two. It's either I know this and I know what, so let's move on from it, or I have no clue what to say, so I'm going to say nothing.
Right. Wow.
Dr. Nabavian, I have a question.
Sure.
So since I've been listening to our special guests, I heard Renelle said that, and Pastor Anthony stated about the promiscuity part of it. So would you say that it's true that molestation or child sexual abuse leads to promiscuity?
I think it does because, at first it doesn't feel good, but then at some point there's this point where you're like, well, this is what I'm good at. This is the only thing I know. This is normal. This is my life. This is what I do. And it's not like this conscious thought, but it's just, and I hate to say that it leads to promiscuity because it's not like that in your head, right? It's not like you're like, oh, I'm going to go and be promiscuous. It's more like this happens and then this happens. And when you look back, you're like, oh, wow, I slept with a lot of guys, or I did this and that was promiscuous. But in the moment, it's just kind of trying to live your life the best you can, doing the thing that you know how to do. And unfortunately, it's the thing that gave you so much pain, but now it's what you're used to. So I see it too often to say that it doesn't lead to it.
Okay. And I have a question. Now, naturally, you said that at some point in time you wanted to kill your dad, you know, like every time he would make an attempt to approach you. Now, at any point in time, and this is for all who share their story, Pastor Anthony, Renelle, and Natalie, did you ever think of going to the police to report this? Natalie, you're on mute.
I didn't think at the police at the time, but when my other auntie told my brother that was in the army, they were planning me with my big mouth. Oh my God, they were planning to go to the cops, and I opened up my big mouth to my dad. How stupid that was, and I don't remember what happened, but I really don't remember, but I know that when I tell my auntie and they told my brother, and my brother come to me, they wanted to go to the cop, but I don't know what happened. All I remember when my father was threatening me again, and I said, "Oh, they're gonna go to the cop." And tell I was like that, but I really don't know what happened. I remember me saying that to him, and I sleep with a
Wow.
knife because I wanted to stab him. I wanted to stab him. Yeah, I sleep with a knife. And because of him, I was walking with the spirit of anger. I used to walk with 5 knives. The moment you say something to me,
Wow.
I will cut you. But God delivered me from
Amen.
all those stuff. I'm telling you, I did. I was a sweet girl, very humble. But the moment you wanted to fight me or you'll tell a lie on me, I draw for my knife. I've been in relationship with guy that I draw for a big knife to chop their private parts off, and they said that girl is crazy. So these are the stuff that I was battling with, and then it put so much on my marriage because there are times that I didn't want my husband to touch me,
Mm.
didn't want my husband to have sex with me
Even now?
because of now it's not bad like that like oh it was to God be the glory. So, and it's like not really enjoying sex, because my father let me feel dirty, and I know I never shared this, I forgot. One night too, he took me to a Orin hotel.
Wait, what?
Yeah, 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 in Jamaica. What they call it in Jamaica?
Like
Yeah,
abroad?
yeah. Oh
Wow.
my God. And I'm a young
Like a
teen.
whorehouse?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, oh, yeah. The devil is a liar. I'm freezing. What is
Mm-mm-mm.
going on?
Go ahead. We're listening. We're hearing you.
Even but y'all could hear me because it's
Yeah, I
freezing.
can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, and it took me, and that lady could take one look at me and know that I'm young. That lady should have known that that's my father because we look alike. And she was like, "Oh, don't get scared. We're human here." And I was like, "What?" This man took me to a horrid hotel, and you want to tell me a teenager like me, and you don't see nothing wrong with it? Oh my
That's why I
gosh,
said. That's why I said in the Caribbean.
yeah.
In the Caribbean, that's what it's like a norm. It's like I tell you, I've seen plenty of stories in Trinidad where you see men
Mhm,
30s, 40s with young
mhm,
girls, sleeping with them. Sometime, not too a couple of years ago, there was a young girl who ended, sometimes they end up having children for their fathers.
mhm.
2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and
Yeah.
sometimes the mother is being abused, and she know that this man is going into her daughter's bedroom every night and having sex with her, and her belly big, 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 getting ready to deliver, carrying this man baby. And when they take the picture, the whole five kids she had for her father. So people don't address it, but in the Caribbean, Trinidad, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, wherever, that is what the older men do. And then the first thing that this is the phrase they tell you when the young girls, they say, "Oh, these young girls, they're too hot, they're too fast, they're too this, they're too that." They think that these girls, they don't, their mental mindset and their build up, they don't know any different
So
because sometimes
Renelle, let me cut you for a minute. I'm gonna have to ask Dr. Nabavian some questions because she's her schedule. She has an appointment.
oh, okay, amen.
So the question for you, and before you give your last advice or counseling per se, Dr. Nabavian, is when does one seek counseling? And you know how they may say, like Renelle just mentioned, the young girls may be dressing impy skimpy, or not even young girls, because I mean adults do experience sexual abuse too. Like someone mentioned earlier, that what we're looking at right now, human trafficking. That's the opposite of what we experienced earlier in our lives. But when does one seek counseling? And is it that because someone dresses a certain kind of way gives anybody the right to abuse anyone? and your last advice or counsel before you go, Dr. Nabavian.
Right. So I think you seek counseling when you think you're ready to seek counseling, because it's a hard thing to do. If you find the right counselor, the right therapist,
Mhm.
they're going to push you, and they're going to push you to talk about
Yes.
it more and more and more. Right. When I do my trauma sessions, I want to know everything. I want to know what you smelled, what you heard, what you saw, and because that's really important. I want to be there with you. So because 6 weeks down the line, if you tell me something, I can say, well, remember when you told me that time 12 years ago, you told me that, I had a patient whose dad used to make her give him fellatio, and she hated watches. But we figured after a long time that that's all she was staring at was his watch. So of course she hated watches. I would hate watches. So, but I wouldn't have known that if I didn't know the details. So the details are really important. And if you're going to go into therapy, you have to be ready to give those details, at least for it to be effective. No one is ever asking for anything. No one deserves it. No one is at fault. No one has done anything wrong to get raped or abused. That's just the abuser's way of making themselves feel better and putting blame on someone that the blame should not go on. But absolutely not.
And one last question, something just came to me, doctor. Have you ever seen where any men who, after finding out that the woman who they're with have gone through a trauma like such, had any different reaction or change their mind or any issues where that is concerned?
I haven't really, although I would think I would see that. I think I've had more of the fear. Am I going to hurt her? Am I going to do something to break her? But I haven't seen that. Well, I changed my mind. I don't want, one of you guys said damaged goods. I haven't seen it, although it didn't sound so out of ordinary to hear that. Maybe just because the people who come to therapy at that point are with people who they can trust, and that is what probably lets them come to therapy. So, not for me.
Okay. And one last question. I know we're running out of time too. Someone says, I'm getting another question for you, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1 second. All right, so I have Alisa. She's my daughter, so she's here on the program, so she has a question for you. Alisa, you wanna come on? Let us see your face. Alisa, are you there? Talisa, are you there? You're on mute, so we're not hearing you. Can you get off mute? Talisa, are you there? Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to skip that one, doctor. Any other questions before Doc has to go? Any other questions for her? Vanille, do you have any question? Okay, any questions from the other guests? Pastor, any questions for Doc before she goes? Renelle?
Hello, everyone. Good night. Not sure if you're hearing me, but my name is Vanille Brown, and I am a part of the Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring. So my question is, have you guys gotten any counseling?
Okay, one quick question before we go there, Vanille. Bear with me. So, doctor, there's a question for you, Doc.
Mhm.
Has this ever happened to any male? Have you had any male clients who've had sex with
Yeah.
you? That's the question my daughter wanted to ask.
Yeah, I have. I have. More than you guys think. And it's pretty horrendous for the men because, suck it up, lose your virginity. What's wrong with you? So it's a whole different world for our men. And it really does destroy them. And it's so embarrassing for them. They don't like to talk about it. So it's rare that you hear it. But I've had 2 that come to mind very clearly. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, Doc. And we just want to say a special thank you for taking the time out. I know you're a busy lady. And also to share your expertise with us and the viewers at large tonight. And I hope that you will continue to be that psychologist, like you said. You're not trying to hurt the people who have been affected, but you want them to get it out so that they
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
So I wish you all the best in
Thank
your
you.
practice. And I just
And
want to say thank you.
I want to again say thank you to all of you for being so courageous and honest. And thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Doc.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Okay, so Vanille has a question. Vanille was asking a question. 1 second.
Okay, so Renelle,
She's having technical
Renelle has a
difficulties.
question.
She has her phone on. Just bear with me. But she can't hear you guys, but we can hear her.
Good night, ladies. I'm sorry. I'm having some technical difficulties with my computer. So I have to be listening to the live on my phone. But my question is, have any of you guys gotten counseling for what you have been through?
I did.
I did.
When I was in college, I was extremely depressed, and I got counseling.
I
I
got mine
didn't.
about 15 years ago.
I didn't.
I haven't addressed mine because I had got to the point where it was something that I wanted to forget in some sense. And I feel like this is therapy because needed to happen because like I said, God started bringing stuff back to my memory, things that I blocked out. And I tend to have selective memory. Like I will remember what I want to remember and forget what I want to forget or need to forget because I have the need to live my life. And I feel like if I sit here and wallow in everything that happened to me when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, everything will completely stop and I wouldn't be able to function. So what I did was I took everything that ever happened to me and I blocked it. But when I go to lay in the bed with my husband, God started bringing stuff to my memory. I went to take a shower one day and he started bringing stuff to my memory. And I was like, okay, God, why am I remembering this? Why am I remembering this? And it got to the point that I sat on my bed one time and I was playing worship music and I just thought, don't ask me why. I just was in tears. There's some things that when you least expect it, God is gonna take the perfect moment to uproot that stuff. And you may not know what is the reason that you're crying or feeling a certain way, but He's like, you know what? I need you to remember this. I need you for such a time as this. I need to pull this out of you. I need to heal you. We're like onion. We have so many different layers to us that God is constantly peeling away certain things. So for me, it was more like I want to forget about it. I need to move on with my life. I can't sit here and wallow in grief and anxiety and stress and suicide and all of that other stuff. I need to move on. So I didn't go for counseling. I just completely blocked it out. But now he has it to the forefront. It's like here. It's like written. And it's like when I close my eyes, I see the images. I see the people's faces. I see what was happening to me. Even myself, certain things that I did that I didn't remember, he's having me see them. Like you need to confront it. You need to let this go because in some sense I feel like sometimes I don't know how to say it. You know how I'm with my husband. I love him too. I love my husband a lot, but sometimes I feel like I'm lusting after him. Like, you know, I want him, like, and it's normal in a marriage to want your husband, but sometimes I feel like it's something underlying in it in some sense where you're like, oh, you know, like, but and the enemy would try to make it seem like it's perverted and inappropriate to want him like that. Because I be wanting to do adult stuff to my husband. I'm sorry, like, you know, I really want to, but the enemy will make me think like, well, you was a hoe when you was growing up. You was a stripper. You had sex with all these men. So what makes this any different? You understand what I'm saying? If you can understand what I'm saying, you'll be like, what makes this any different? What makes you not any less of a whore? You know what I mean? So that's something that I believe that I would have to confront and put it to rest completely.
If I might add, Renelle, it was at that point that I started remembering details and having visions. Like you said, those were traumatic experiences. And that's the body's way of protecting itself. It'll take some things and like put it in a little box and then put it over here on the shelf. When those things started coming back up for me, I was like, wow, I didn't even remember that took place. I remember playing things over and over again and that never came up. So for me, it was like now is the time to address these issues, process them, okay? Because like you, I would go through periods where when I was married, you know what I'm saying? And at one point it was almost like I was wanting sex too much. And then there were other periods where I didn't want it at all. And it was multi-level. It was the fact of just having a child. You know, it takes our body a couple of years to act. But on top of that, like the therapist, what did you smell? I learned that smells were triggering old memories and things of that nature. And I didn't understand. I didn't even remember the smell before. So for me, it really helped. And that was a sign that, okay, now is the time to go in and deal with this, because you're right. You have to confront it or it'll keep coming back. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, when I confronted it, it was like, okay, I've dealt with it now. I can move on. I understand what I went through. I understand why God allowed it. And I'm not by any means saying that everyone will have that, okay? Because some people still won't get it and they're unwilling to let it go so that they can get over it. But for me, talking about it and getting that thing out, I'm good now. You know how sometimes people bring up their past and they get misty, start welling up? Doesn't bother me anymore. I talk about it like it was yesterday's newspaper. I learned from it. I grew from it. And I hate to see anybody else suffering. So if I can help, by all means, I try to. So yeah. And the comment about the men, I speak more to men than I do to women that have gone through traumatic sexual experiences. I have more men contact me privately than I've ever had women contact me to talk about their issues.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of that information, Pastor. I have a question here. If they believe that if you all believe counseling helped you all drastically, do you all believe counseling help or can help one drastically to mentally get past the trauma? Because I had that question. So in my own words, because I had that similar question, other than the question I'm getting here, is do you think one can really and truly, mentally get over this trauma? And this is for Pastor or Natalie.
Absolutely. If that's what you want, yeah, I'm 100% a believer. I I don't recall ever having nightmares. I don't recall, um, although at one point in time I did struggle with panic attacks. I don't anymore. I don't anymore. I used to have to take Xanax to deal with my panic attacks, and previously I was diagnosed as bipolar. I think that was a misdiagnosis. I think I was just under, stress, um, depressed, and all those things from my past. But I can't speak for everybody because I know everyone does not believe in God. But for me, God did it for me. When I was able to lay those things at His feet, like even today, I harbor no ill feelings towards my abusers. They are 100% forgiven. And a lot of times people misinterpret forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I mean, that's totally a choice for you. Some of my users have passed on. One of them killed themselves. But I'm in contact and communication with the others like nothing ever happened. And I mean, everybody's different. I was able to forgive and just move on like it didn't even happen. We didn't even have a conversation about it. Just forgave them and moved on because of how the Most High Yah made me, because of the conversations that I have with Him and the things that I relinquished to Him. I know a lot of people walk around talking about closure. I got all the closure I needed from the Most High. I didn't have to communicate or have a discussion with any of my abusers. That was my experience.
And that is so true, Pastor, because Dr. Nabavian and I were talking yesterday, and she's like, she's seen a lot of patients who are being what you call it now. Their diagnosis is not correct, Like you said, they were diagnosing you to say that you have bipolar when it's really, probably stress and anxiety and
Misdiagnosed, yes.
trauma. So she said she's seen a lot of that too, and that's why going to her is different from going to any other psychologist or therapist, because she gets to the root of the matter. She knows how to handle people who's been through trauma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie, what do you have to say? Do you think one can truly mentally overcome such trauma?
Yeah, yes, you can. You can overcome it because once you forgive that person and God heal you, because the healing process have to start by you getting deliverance. And when you get deliverance, you can overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though sometimes the enemy will put that
Yeah.
that seed back and say, "Oh, yeah, your father did that, or or your abuser did that, or But once you block it out and you really forgive that person, yeah, you can overcome it and you can put it behind you. Because me and my father, we talk, we talk. Yeah, me and my father talk. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I give my life to God, My father told me he is so proud of me, and I'm ministering to my father, and he's so close to give his life to God. Mhm. So yeah, you can. When you get closure, it's help. When you go through deliverance, it does help. But you have to speak about it. Some people are scared to speak about it, so they're
Yes.
locked in. They won't get closure from it because they're still walking with the spirit of shame. And when you're walking with the spirit of shame and hurt and guilt and that anger battle inside of you, it's hard for you to overcome it. It's hard for you to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell yourself that you're going to overcome it and you put it to the altar, you give it to God, He will take it up right there. He will take it up. But you have to go through the deliverance
Mm-hmm.
and really forgive that person that did it to you. Yeah.
Talking about it helps you take your power back.
Yeah, that is true. That is so true. I agree with you. Because just like, I don't know if you watch a movie with Tyler Perry, when he said forgiveness is for you. When you really forgive that person, it's
It
like
is.
you feel so light, right? Don't you guys feel light? You feel light, like you can smile. You don't feel
It
closed up
was
no
like a
more.
burden was lifted. Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
It does.
I agree.
It does.
Correct. You are 100% correct.
Okay, and do you have any more questions, Daniel? Do you have any more questions? Talisa, do you have any more questions? Or um, are we getting any more questions from our viewers who are listening, watching? What advice do they have for girls and boys, women or men, who are still going through abuse and want to mentally get past and speak out and seek help? So, for those who are fearless, those who are not so bold,
Can you
what
guys hear
advice?
me?
Oh, yes, go ahead, Talisa. Yes, yes, we can. Are you there, Talisa?
I don't know when you guys will hear this, but
She's all the way in Jamaica, guys. So you know the rain messed up their internet service. So
Oh,
hopefully
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has.
oh yeah.
Oh, my God. Blessings to you, dear.
Okay, Vanille, any other questions? If not, we're gonna wrap up and have Natalie. Anything do you have to say? Any last words, Natalie?
Yeah.
So
I
I have a question. Now that you guys are parents, how does this affect you, you know, being protective of your child or children?
Oh, let me tell you. So
I like to answer that one.
do
When
so. Go ahead, Shirelle.
I'm sorry. I have my boys are grown now. They're 25 and 26. There was a period of time when they were babies and went to change one of them's diaper. He would get very upset. He didn't want us touching his bottom. And we were confused because we were like, he don't have no rash or anything. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a bruise or a scratch. So we immediately jumped to, I know I did because my husband, my first husband, we were high school sweethearts. So we were very close and we about a lot. And I had shared, my trauma and my experiences with him. So we immediately thought
Mm,
somebody been touching our baby,
mm,
and we tried to allow, and this he had not touched them, but we were on it right away. Okay, I mean head on, asked questions. We even contacted a therapist. I mean, we had our child, both boys, examined. We took them to the doctor. We talked to oh gosh, I forget what kind of doctor, some type of psychotherapist. But I had a therapist, a psychiatrist, and a psychologist, and we asked the whole gamut of questions. We were having personal problems within our marriage, and my mother-in-law was an interference. We actually cut her off for a whole year because she would not respect and honor our wishes for how we were choosing to raise our child. Even after we ruled out, you know, the potential that someone had been sexually touching the child, we still cut it off because we were so protective of, we had this thing like, these are our children. We decide. You're the grandmother. When your input is wanted, it will be solicited. So yeah, we didn't play, we didn't hesitate. We went all out, even going to doctors to check and verify that nobody had, you know what I'm saying, touched our children. And absolutely, as soon as they were able to talk, we were talking to them, we were explaining things, making them aware, you know what I'm saying, of what to look out for, good touch, bad touch. Yeah, it was no joke whatsoever.
I agree. With me, being a mom, you know, at the age of 21, you know, it just the motherly aspect just kicked in me naturally. And my grandmother, one time, you know, I had got a babysitter for my oldest daughter. My grandmother was not having it. She's like, "You're not dropping my first grandbaby to no babysitter. I will watch her." So as I got older and more mature and more stable, I got myself to the point where I made a vow that my girls wasn't going to experience what I went through. There was no way that I would put them in a situation, you know, and even if I had to go to work, I always made sure that they were at someone that I trusted. Even to this day, the babysitter that took care of all three of them, we're very, very close. We're like family. So, but still, I was very mindful of that. Even if I was just dating somebody for 10 months, they wasn't meeting my kids. They wasn't going to be in the presence of my children. It's not every man that I came into contact with saw my children's face, you know. So I never gave an opportunity for my kids to be alone with somebody, with a male, or if I didn't have like a positive feeling about you, you wasn't going to be around my children. So I never left the door open or create or have an opportunity to be created where someone has a chance to mess with my kids. And I've always told my children, no matter what, I don't care what it is. I don't care. Tell me. I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to lash out at you. I'm not going to call you a liar. I don't care what it is. Come to me and talk to me. You could talk to me about anything. And I've always told my girls, and it's not so much as being graphic as a parent. I've always just had my children know their body parts. You know what I mean? And I tell them, if somebody touch your vagina, what you do? Tell mommy. I said, even if I touch you inappropriately, if somebody else touches you inappropriately, you tell. You tell. And that's the thing with these parents. These parents don't want their kids to talk to them. The kids say, "Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm on the phone." Oh, their parents is too busy. Parents these days are too busy for their kids, and their kids is raising themselves. I'm tired of seeing mothers leaving their babies with men that they dating, and the men end up raping and killing their baby. Hello, and that's not even his child.
Listen.
Are you kidding me? Why you got the kid you've only known for 6 months taking care of your 6-month-old baby girl? Got to change her diaper and all. And then when she start crying, he got mad and pushed her through the window. We as parents need to take our ground and be serious about raising, whether you got boys. So don't think that people won't rape boys. Women rape boys, men rape boys, and vice versa. So don't think that women won't rape a girl or won't molest a girl, or a man won't. Well, we know men will molest boys. But people think that women will not molest a little girl. Women will molest a girl. You have to be very careful as a parent to who is watching your children. And I've always told my kids, I don't care who it is, I don't care what it is. Anything happens, you come and tell me, and I'll deal with it. And I'll cut a ninja balls off. I'm not playing. I'm so serious. I told them, I don't care how old y'all is. I have my oldest is 24. Somebody mess with you, I'm cutting his nuts off. Point blank, period. Because you have no authority, you have no business to take it upon yourself to violate my child and take away her innocence. All of them are still virgins. You have no right to take it upon yourself to rob my child of her innocence before God presents her to her husband. Are you serious? So, as a parent, mothers, fathers, grandparents, auntie, uncle, whoever, if you're raising kids and if them kids come to you and tell you somebody's messing with them, listen to them. Do not run them. Do not shun them. Do not tell them that they're lying. Do not say, oh, well, that's your Uncle Nunu. I don't believe he would ever do that to you. The devil is a bold-faced lie. They say Uncle Nunu is touching them. Uncle Nunu is touching them. Period.
Say it. Say it.
I didn't mean to laugh.
Real
I
talk.
say it.
No, seriously, the truth. I'm sick and tired of these parents being lackadaisical when it comes to raising their kids. Stop doing that. If you have a kid, I don't care if he's a 12-year-old boy. If he says somebody, the coach, if he tell you the coach touched his wee-wee, the coach touched his wee-wee. You go handle it. You're like, okay, I'm going to the authority. Real talk. Stop turning away your kids. Stop shutting up your kids. Stop robbing your kids of your trust, because the kids trust you. They trust that you're going to protect them, lead them, guide them, and do anything for them. And I'll be damned, excuse me, if a ninja want to rape any of my daughters. I'm so serious. I will go. Listen, I just start learning how to shoot. Don't play with me.
All right.
Don't play with me. So,
what about you, Natalie?
I'm going to say, hey, I'm a pastor, but I carry back.
Natalie? Yes, are you going to respond to that?
It's called, hey, Renelle, it's called righteous indignation. It's called righteous indignation. After you go through that and rise up with strength and power, and you refuse to allow it to happen to you again. You know, I heard one of the ladies say earlier that they were a tomboy. So was I. I was very rough, you know, for a great deal of time. But once I got that relationship right with the Holy Spirit, it kind of brought me to an even keel where I didn't react negatively. I was able to use my words, my coping skills, you know, things I had learned that are in all the promises that God had given us. So I knew I had a hope. But I tell you one thing, I won't let nobody run over me again. I tell people all the time, don't let the small size fool you. I will open the whole. You know, they think because you're small, big things come in little packages.
Stay right there. Sit down. Yeah, that's right. Now, Natalie, I was asking you, are you going to respond to that question as well as it relates to?
Yeah, when I have two boys and a girl. When I find out that my third child was going to be a girl, my whole world crumbled. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a girl. I am going to be overprotected of her. Also with the boys too, you know, and I remember when I did the C-section, and as soon as the doctor gave me the baby, that's when the spirit of fear leave me instantly. And I put everything in the Lord's hands. And I decree and I declare over my children's life. I said, what I go through, my children will not go through it. They will have their own testimony. They will not get raped. I cover them, I hide them, and in the blood of Jesus Christ, I said, God, put up spiritual camouflage upon my children so they will not be a victim to the enemy. The enemy will not see them, hide them. And oh, the Lord took that fear from me where I could trust my husband. I'm not saying that my husband is, because I was traumatized by what happened to me. And I had to pray. I had to pray and said, Lord, let me trust my husband that he will not touch my kids. Because sometimes the enemy, he creep things in your head. But the Lord, he just took that away and let me know that you can trust your husband with your children. You can trust him. You can trust your husband. That is your husband. I ordained that marriage. You can trust him. And I trust my husband. There were other people like, oh my God, in the family, like, oh gosh, should I trust them with them? Man, even though I look at my daughter, when I'm changing her, I look to make sure, I leave her stuff is this exactly the same way I come back and see. Because I said, anybody touch my children.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
You know, I can put a 38 in your head.
Thank you so much. I guess we're all covered. Nothing we get enough to talk from your end. It's done after what it is. All right. So in the meantime, a viewer was asking all you ladies or all of us, where do we get the strength and courage to talk about what we've endured, and how do we feel when we're talking about it?
I'm trying.
I get my strength from the Most High.
Yeah.
It's from the Almighty God.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like
entire.
I feel like this
I'm
is.
sorry.
I feel like this is the breakthrough for me. Like I feel like this was my opportunity to finally confront, the fear, the shame, the intimidation, the sort of like wavering mistrust that was trying to creep into my marriage, and I feel like my memories that was coming back to me all the time for me to bring all of this back. I feel like it was set up for just a time as this. So to be able to this is a public forum. Like anybody can watch this. This is not where I'm hiding or, anything like that. Anybody can see this.
Right.
So the fact that this is a testimony for somebody else. It's not to shame anybody. It's not to shame myself. It's not to say that, if you're going through it, you're a bad person or you're less valuable or anything like that. It's just a step in the right direction to know that we all have the ability and the opportunity to overcome everything that the enemy throws at us. And we have to also remember that the enemy, when we are of God and an ambassador of God's kingdom, the enemy is going to send arrows and fiery darts and swords to try to deplete you and completely annihilate you. But we got to remember, according to Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the hopes and the plans that I have for you. So do you think that the enemy, the God is going to, listen, God already planted everything that we needed to go forward. So the fact that we have the opportunity and the strength to do this is God's. This is not about us. This is about God. This is saying, you know what? We didn't do this on our own. Yeah, God was at the forefront. God was at the forefront of the whole. God was like in the caboose, like, come on, y'all, I got you. We in the caboose in the front, and we in the cars on the back, and everything that we had towing up behind us. He was like, all right, We about to go around the bend. It's time to let all of that go. It's time to let the low go. So you have to trust and know that even though you went through it or going through it, God knows all. He sees all. He's a deliverer. Okay. And he's Jehovah Gabor. He'll fight on your behalf. So,
Come on now.
It's boldness. God, like they said, God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of love and of a sound mind. You can never, ever, ever be fearful. Even if you have to say, God, I don't know what to do at this moment. I don't know how to go about this, but I need you to help me. I need you to hold my hand. I need you to lead me. I need you to guide me. I need you to show me what I need to do. I can't sit here and be a victim. I can't sit here and be constantly manipulated, because that's what the enemy wants you to do, to be manipulated and be in fear, like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Oh my God, he did this to me. You have to be bold enough to step up and say, you know what? I'm not going to allow the enemy to overshadow everything that God has set out for me. So the strength of the Lord is what allowed us to open our pretty little mouths to bring out everything that we've experienced. Shirelle, me and Shirelle in some sense are similar in some sense with our experiences. And, I'm glad that I was able to invite her here so she can share, her story and stuff like that. But be bold. Be bold in the Lord. Be bold in Christ. Be bold with the Holy Spirit. Remember, God has his armor. And once you rest everything pertaining to you in his hands and you cover yourself with that armor, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible with God. So,
okay. Come on, preach, so I can have you preach on Saturday.
Thank you all for participating.
Amen.
Gone,
Amen. Thank you for having us.
Telling our stories, sharing your stories with the world at large, not feeling any type of way. And I'm sure somebody tonight out there, because normally our comments line will be going crazy. It's like kind of on the silent tonight, but I'm sure they are listening. And I hope that someone tonight gets the courage to speak about it. Find someone who you either trust or find a psychologist who you think can handle your situation and help you to heal. Not only that, but most of all, turn to the Most High One. Ask him to help you to get over this, because only him alone, he's the biggest of all, and there's nothing too big for him. There's nothing impossible for him. Because I'm possible. I am.
Amen.
So just remember that, guys. You're not alone. And that's what we're here for. As ladies here, on behalf of all the other ladies, including Natalie, who was a special guest among us tonight, we just want to say thank you, Angela, who's on the back end taking care of our comments as usual on a weekly basis. And Vanille, we appreciate you being here among us this week. And to our viewers, don't forget that we see you. And when you get that, just to let you guys know, when you get that notification about that badge, it is real. Our page is now upgraded where we're giving away top fan badges to the top sharer, top viewer, all of that. So when you see that badge, it's not fake, okay? It's coming from Ladies Uplifting and Inspiring.
Amen.
We're growing. We have bigger, better things to come.
Amen.
And we want you to continue to stay tuned to us weekly. We will have something for you that will either uplift you, motivate you, inspire you, or edify you. Okay, so we just want to say, give God all the glory and the praise belongs to him. And we've come to the end of another week's edition where we spoke about child sexual abuse, molestation, domestic violence victims. So Renelle, Pastor Anthony, Natalie, we applaud you
Amen. To God be all the glory.
Amen. So
God bless you, ladies. God
God
bless
bless
you.
you. Do you want Shirelle,
All
Shirelle to
right.
pray us out?
Right before, yes, we would love that. And I'm sure Pastor Anthony, you're not going to be a stranger to us because we have some topics coming up that you may be interested in. So we'll talk about it after. I'm saying that we may not
Okay.
have you a one-time person, but you may be interested in some other topics that we have coming up. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna have Pastor Anthony take us out in prayer.
All right. Thank you. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for this meeting of the mind on tonight. We pray that the words, the testimonies that we give will fall on good ground and motivate, edify, and uplift those who need it and heal those who need it, oh God. But as we leave this place, but never from your presence, I pray that you will bless and cover and protect your people. Father, let them reach out and use their voice. Let them use what you already gave them. And Lord, we promise to give you all the glory, the honor, and the praises. In Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. God bless you all. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And
Amen. God bless you,
I just
everyone.
want to add my daughter sent me a message. She also said that, and this is for our viewers, if you speak with someone who you trust and they don't speak up for you, do not be silent. So this is coming from my daughter Teresa. If
Amen.
someone
I
out
agree.
there is also experiencing abuse, molestation, you try to find someone who you trust and they don't speak up for you, do not be silent. Find someone else who to go to, or like you said, go to the Most High in prayer, similar to you speak to a normal person. And I also had something to share. I know we're at the end of the program, but I just want viewers to know we have the term sexual abuse and molestation, and we just want to identify the difference. The term sexual abuse, getting a feedback here. The term sexual abuse involves sexual intercourse or a deviation of intercourse. It includes touching, fondling, making a child touch an adult sexual organ or penetrating a child's vagina or anus. So it's not only vagina, it could be their anus, which is, we're talking about their butt, their rear, with a penis or
Mhm.
any object that's not medically purposed. Non-touching
Mhm.
includes exposing children to pornography, deliberately exposing a child to sexual contents, which is the
Mhm.
act of sexual intercourse, or even masturbating in the child's presence. So that has to do with the molestation. Now, sexual abuse can happen across all ages, but molestation is strictly limited to younger children. Because a child's penis or vagina is too small for physical penetration, molestation occurs when the
Mhm.
child is forced to perform oral sex, touched in an inappropriate manner, and or made to watch the adult masturbate.
Mm.
Sexual abuse happens over a longer period of time and involves actual physical penetration. So we just wanted you guys to know and understand the difference between child sexual abuse and molestation.
Amen.
All right. So I hope you all have a
Amen.
wonderful rest of night. It's almost midnight, and enjoy your weekend.
Amen. God bless you, everyone. Thank you.
God bless you.
So, God bless you all.
God bless you.
Shalom.
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 Take care.